A. Okay, so I've been thinking about this for quite a while now, but I think Xenosaga might actually be better than Xenoblade, or at least I might enjoy it more than Xenoblade. As y'all know, Xenoblade is like my favorite series of all time. I adore Xenoblade just as much as y'all do. It's been fucking amazing. But ever since I've beaten Xenosaga, I've always just kept talking about how much I like it and how much I think it might trump Xenoblade as my favorite. It might be better than Xenoblade. But I kind of wanted to really explain why. It's kind of hard because I don't really know why myself, but I can explain it as best as I can. But yeah, Xenosaga is an amazing trilogy, okay? I love sci-fi, so Xenosaga is perfect for me. The whole like space thing, I am a huge nerd for just like astronomy, space, all of that shit. So Xenosaga mainly taking place in space is just perfect for me. I also really like the turn-based combat. I'm not really too sure if I prefer real-time action or turn-based. It fluctuates. One day I'll prefer one day I'll prefer the other. It really depends. I like both of them. I can't really tell which one I like more. But one thing I do like about Xenosaga a lot more than Xenoblade is that Xenoblade is a lot more safe with its story and themes, which I mean, it makes sense. Xenosaga has a lot more darker undertones and themes to its overall story than Xenoblade does, and that's not really any fault to Xenoblade. I mean, Nintendo, it's all because of Nintendo and they're like family friendly stuff, so you can't really put a lot of the themes from Gears and Saga into Blade without getting like a mature, would it be a mature rating? I don't know. What is Xenoblade? It's rated teen, right? So it'd probably get mature if it had like the themes and stuff from Saga and Gears, and Nintendo doesn't want that. They are like the family friendly gaming company, so it makes sense why they had to go a little bit softer on the themes and stuff for Xenoblade. But for Saga, yeah, I love the dark and like serious story of Xenosaga. It's great. I typically prefer more darker, more serious stories like Gears and Saga as opposed to Blade. Don't get me wrong, Xenoblade has some amazing stories, and Xenoblade 2 is probably my favorite story in all of gaming. Wow, big shocker, what a surprise. At least in the entire series. Oh, see, I can't tell if I like Xenoblade 2's or Xenosagas more. See, it's just tough. That's exactly what I'm talking about. But Xenosaga's story is more in line with what I prefer. And kind of speaking on the story, the lore is also just a lot more interesting in Saga as well. Like, I really do like Xenoblade lore, but I prefer Saga lore so much more. I think it's because there's just so much lore that we don't know about, and that's just hidden behind the scenes. Monolith Soft and Takahashi are very good at like subtext and hiding lore within the environment of the world. So not everything is outright told to you. You kind of have to piece things together and interpret it on your own instead of it just being outright told you. That's really how it works for everything. Like at this point, Mio is Nia's daughter. It's just all but confirmed. It's basically fact at this point. We just need Takahashi to say, yeah, that's true. Okay, Alvis is Ontos. We kind of already knew all of that until Future Redeemed outright confirmed it. So a lot of lore in Xeno in general is just like hidden behind the scenes, and you have to like dig to look for it. It's not going to be on the surface. You actually have to like read between the lines to figure out the full lore, which I really do like. Metroid does a very similar thing, which is one reason why I love Metroid so much. Metroid's my second favorite franchise of all time, so Metroid is like the king of world building and lore through the environments of the game. Okay, recently in the last decade or so, Metroid games have been given a lot more text and like dialogue from characters, which I think it's done in moderation. It's fine. I prefer if it went back to like the older games where there wasn't really much dialogue, and a lot of the lore and story world building we'd find out through just exploring the alien planets and shit. So I really do like stories that do that, just like hid important lore details like in the depths of the story, and it's not surface level. You have to dig to look for it. So I really do like that. But at least for like Xenosaga, like as we knew, there was still so much more to Xenosaga we were supposed to get. To like the entire scope, the full story of Saga, it's only about halfway done, if that. So there was so much more in Xenosaga we were supposed to learn. So a lot of stuff in the trilogy that we have was setting up for later games, but those later games never came and probably never will come. So there's a lot of mysteries and secrets within Xenosaga that we will probably never find out about, and that really intrigues me. Like knowing the unknown, I guess, is really intriguing to me. So if like I'm curious about something, I will not stop thinking about it until I find out what the hell is going on. What the hell is going on? Like for an example, I'm gonna throw an astronomy one up in here. There is this thing called the Great Attractor beyond the Milky Way galaxy, and it's been attracting our basically supercluster, or Virgo supercluster, was just a supercluster of different galaxy clusters. All of these like big clusters of galaxies are being attracted to a certain point in space. And for the longest time, we never knew what the fuck was there. And it was impossible to see through that because zone of avoidance, one of the spiral arms of the galaxy, was blocking off our view, so we couldn't see past it to see what was over there with like telescopes and shit. So for decades, there's just this massive great attractor that was attracting everything into that area, and we had no idea what it is. But now that we have better technology, we know that it's just another even more massive galaxy, or cluster of galaxies, another more massive supercluster of galaxies. So its gravity is outfighting all the other ones. But yeah, I learned that recently, and like for the longest time I was like, what the fuck is this great attractor thing? Will we ever know? And then I learned what it is. Like the payoff was so satisfying. But yeah, for like Saga, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of little details here and there in the lore that were supposed to be answered in later games, but like I said, we never got those. So they're just left unanswered, and it's constantly making me think about that and wonder what it could mean. Like fucking Wilhelm, that's like one of the biggest ones. Who the hell is Wilhelm, bro? Who is he? Like, we know he's like the protector of the lower domain, but where did he come from? Why him? Why does he have all that power? Why did he create the UMN and like Vector and all this other shit? Why is he in control of the eternal recurrence? Where did he come from? What's his power? Like, we don't know anything about him really, and I'm pretty sure that was supposed to be answered in one of the later Saga games that we just never got. So there's so much mystery behind Wilhelm that we'll never learn about. That always just like antagonizes me, and I always have to constantly know what's with him, what's his deal, okay? And then like we saw at the ending of Xenosaga 3, Cosmos is falling back down to Lost Jerusalem. The new Saga games were probably going to take place on Lost Jerusalem, and we're going to find the key to stop the collapse of the universe, like Chaos said at the end of Saga 3. Like, all of stuff like that, it just intrigues me, and I can't stop thinking about it, because like, what is it? I need to know. So I'm always like thinking about Saga lore and reading more and more into Saga lore, and just trying to figure out what the hell those mysteries are, like all the things, the unanswered questions, trying to find answers for them. Even though I know I'm not going to find an answer, I still for some reason look for them. It's terrible. It's a terrible thing that I do, but it's just stuck in my mind. But at least for like story, yeah, I think I prefer Saga's one huge connected story rather than Xenoblade's many different like indirectly connected standalone stories. Like all of the Xenoblade games, yeah, minus X of course, they're all connected indirectly, so like you don't really have to play them in order to understand what's going on. Maybe play 1 and 2 before 3 at least, since 3 kind of connects those two together. But you can kind of really play any of the 3 or 4, I guess, X on their own, and you won't really be confused on anything. But for Saga, you kind of have to play it in order. It's just one massive, expansive, long-running story that just gets deeper and deeper. I prefer that to Xenoblade standalone stories. It's a lot more cohesive and more ambitious. It's just a lot, I don't know, I just prefer that instead. Big reason why I like Nier also. Nier and Xeno are very, very similar, okay? Which is kind of funny and ironic because Takahashi and Yoko Taro are very, very similar in how they go about game design and like creating stories and stuff. So I would not be surprised if Yoko Taro and Takahashi were good friends, because Nier and Xeno are very similar in a lot of ways. And maybe I can make a video at some point going over those. But yeah, the lore I much prefer for Xenosaga. The story in general and how it's structured, I prefer for Xenosaga. The characters, I feel like Xenosaga's characters are a lot more tight-knit and closer. They feel more organic with each other and mesh well a lot better with each other than the Xenoblade parties do. Out of all the Xenoblade parties, I think Xenoblade 3's party is the best in terms of like how they interact with each other. It seems the most natural, and each character kind of got equal amounts of like backstory. It was hard. I know Senna getting gypped. Senna got shafted so hard, but all of the characters at least had some time to like build up their characters, whether that be through the main story or their own side stories. I feel like those side stories were very important and really did help flesh out these characters a lot more. So I feel the party of Xenoblade 3 is a lot more, they mesh well together more than like Xenoblade 1's party and 2. Xenoblade 1, it was really just Shulk. Shulk was like the main focus of the party. Fiora was just there because of Shulk. Same with Dunban and Rhine. Melly, she kind of had her own thing going on, but nowhere near to the extent of Shulk or like someone from Xenoblade 3. That kind of a little bit tried to fix that with Future Connected, but I feel like there's still a lot of untapped potential in Melly's story. Xenoblade 2, it was kind of a bit better. Like obviously the main focus was still on Rex and the Aegis. Nia did get some nice backstory. We got some stuff about Zeke, Morag, and Torna. They all got some backstory too during the main story, which is kind of impressive. So Xenoblade 2 party, it's very nice, but I feel like the Xenoblade 3 party easily had like the best bond, I guess, with each other. But Saga, I feel like Saga just does it so much better, which I mean is kind of unfair because Saga had a lot of time to build up these characters since there's supposed to be many more games, like 6 games in the series. So the first couple games were really diving into these characters like Xion and Cosmos to really build up their characters and relationships with each other, and to kind of get us ready for the new games. They had a lot of time to build up these characters, at least in Saga 1. That's why a lot of it was mainly just focused on Xion, because they wanted to really build up these characters since it was going to be such a long series. So they kind of had more potential and time to really build their relationships with each other. Villains, I don't really have too much to say about the villains of Xenosaga, except I really do like Albedo. Albedo's such a great villain, bro. He's so cool. Dmitry Yuriev, even though he is a bitch, he's a great antagonist. It's great. Wilhelm being the ultimate big bad is cool. I do like that. But overall, Saga is just great. Xenoblade is a better designed like series, which I mean is natural. You'd expect that given the technology in 2002 is way different than the technology we have now. It's a lot more advanced and higher quality, so obviously the more modern games are going to be better built, I guess, than the older games, if that makes sense. But there's just so much about Xenosaga that I really do like. Okay, there's so much about Xenosaga that I prefer over Xenoblade. It's mainly the darker story and all of the lore. I'm a huge lore guy. I fucking love lore. Lore is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite thing about like games and series is the lore. And I am super invested into Xenosaga lore. So that's a huge candidate. But overall, yeah, I really do. I love both series, Xenosaga and Xenoblade. And obviously Xenoblade is still my favorite right now. Xenoblade 2 being my favorite game. So, but Xenosaga is very, very close to trumping Blade as my favorite series. Nothing will ever beat out Xenoblade 2. That'll forever be my favorite game ever. Alright, no, not even Saga 2 or Saga 3 could trump Xenoblade 2 as my favorite. Alright, it's nowhere close. But as a whole, the series, I really do like Xenosaga a whole lot, and I really, really hope we see more of it incorporated in the future for the Xeno series. All right, I'm confident we're getting something related to Xenosaga. All right, we all know what's been happening. We've been keeping up with it. Okay, so I hope Xenosaga makes a return in some kind of form or relation in the future for the Xeno series. I'm so excited to see what the new game is. But yeah, that's about it. I've talked on way too long. See you next mission and play some goddamn Xenoblade.